In the unforgiving world of boxing, where legacies are built not merely on raw talent but on ambition, timing, and the audacity to defy limits, few matchups ignite the imagination like the possibility of Canelo Alvarez squaring off against Terence "Bud" Crawford. This isn't just another title fight or a routine clash between champions. This is a meeting of two men at the absolute pinnacle of their craft. One is a Mexican powerhouse whose strength, experience, and resume speak volumes. The other is an American technician whose intellect and adaptability have left opponents baffled and beaten. And while the belts are important, they take a back seat to the bigger narrative, the dream, the defiance of physics, and the audacity to challenge the natural order of boxing itself. Crawford, already considered by many as one of the most complete fighters of the modern era, has conquered the 135-, 140-, and 147-pound divisions with style and precision. His performances against the likes of Sean Porter and Errol Spence Jr. were not just dominant, they were surgical. Crawford isn't a brawler. He's a thinker. A man who breaks down opponents like a grandmaster setting traps across a chessboard. His ability to switch stances mid-fight, maintain calm under fire, and weaponize patience and angles makes him a nightmare for anyone who dares to enter the ring with him. But therein lies the question. How far can brilliance travel up the scale before the laws of boxing physics catch up? Canelo Alvarez, for all his commercial fame and global superstardom, is no mere marketing marvel. His list of vanquished foes reads like a Hall of Fame ballot. Gennady Golovkin, Sergey Kovalev, Daniel Jacobs, Billy Joe Saunders, and Caleb Plant. His journey from a young 154-pound prodigy to the undisputed super middleweight champion has been marked by discipline, grit, and a relentless hunger to test himself against the best. He's not a natural 168-pounder in terms of frame, but what he lacks in height and reach, he more than makes up for with power, timing, and a body attack that has broken bigger men. This is what makes the potential clash so captivating. It's a collision of two outliers, both undersized by division standards, yet so skilled and conditioned that they've managed to make size irrelevant in their own right. But now, as Crawford eyes the 168-pound summit where Canelo rules, the stakes rise, and so do the risks. Dimitri Bivol, the man who already derailed Canelo's momentum in a tactical masterclass, offered a unique perspective. Having faced Canelo's pressure, Bivol understands what's required to neutralize it. But in his eyes, Crawford presents a different kind of danger. He just needs to be himself, Bivol stated when asked about Crawford's chances. Keep the distance, change stance, and don't trade punches. It's a simple sentence on the surface, but within it lies a blueprint, a formula rooted in intelligence, precision, and movement. To Bivol, Crawford is more cerebral than Canelo, more unpredictable, and more fluid. That makes him harder to prepare for and, potentially, harder to defeat. But Bivol also acknowledged a glaring unknown: size. "I don't know Crawford's size," he admitted. "I haven't seen him in real life." That statement carries weight because, in boxing, size is not just a statistic, it's a weapon. It dictates what punches can be absorbed, what shots can be thrown, and how long a fighter can last in deep waters. Canelo has proven he can take punches from light heavyweights and walk through fire against men with natural size advantages. Crawford, for all his dominance, has never fought above 147. That's a 21-pound jump into a dimension of power and physicality that remains uncharted territory. And it's not just about weight on paper, it's about how that weight performs under pressure. Canelo's power at 168 is different. His ability to dig hooks to the body, to slow the rhythm of a fight with relentless pressure, and to make the ring feel small for his opponents has overwhelmed even naturally bigger fighters. Callum Smith, who had every physical advantage over Canelo, was dominated. He couldn't keep the Mexican star off him. The same could happen to Crawford if he fails to maintain the kind of perfect distance and movement he's accustomed to employing at lower weights. Mental fortitude also becomes a crucial component in this hypothetical war. Bivol emphasized that dealing with Canelo is not just about avoiding punches, it's about surviving the entire event. The spotlight, the pressure, the aura. He has to be ready, mentally and physically, Bivol warned. It's not just what he does in the ring. It's how he feels that night. How his training camp went. All those things matter. It's a subtle reminder that boxing is not just combat, it's theater. The walkout, the energy of the crowd, the legacy on the line, it all weighs heavily on a fighter's psyche. Former heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua weighed in on the debate with a perspective that cut through the technical jargon. If Crawford is motivated and focused, and if he trains the right way, he could still surprise people, Joshua said. It wasn't just encouragement, it was recognition of something deeper. Joshua, who has faced both triumph and collapse on boxing's grandest stages, knows the power of belief. To him, the most dangerous fighter is the one who has something to prove, who fights with a chip on his shoulder and a fire in his belly. Crawford, stepping into Canelo's domain, would carry both. But in boxing, desire alone is rarely enough. Crawford's path to victory wouldn't lie in trading shots or pushing Canelo back physically. It would lie in timing, in ring IQ, in making Canelo miss just enough to frustrate him, just enough to score points, just enough to make him hesitate. Crawford must be a ghost, visible but untouchable. He must limit exchanges, pivot out of danger, and take advantage of Canelo's occasional pauses in activity. That's the tightrope he'd be forced to walk for 12 grueling rounds. Oscar de la Hoya, himself a six-division world champion, distilled the problem with classic old-school wisdom: a good small man doesn't beat a good big man. De la Hoya has faced both styles, blistering fast technicians and hard-hitting brawlers. He respects Crawford's skill, but he questions whether skill alone is enough when weight, pressure, and power enter the equation. Canelo didn't hurt Chavez Jr., De La Hoya noted. So if Jake Paul can wobble Chavez Jr., what does that say about the matchup? The message was blunt. Crawford might be great, but greatness has its boundaries. There's also the matter of momentum. Canelo, though not invincible, has bounced back from losses with the kind of steely focus that champions are made of. His defeat to Bivol wasn't a collapse. It was a humbling, and he's adjusted since. Every time Canelo has been challenged or questioned, he's responded with a performance that reminds the world of who he is. His counterpunching, his body work, his head movement, when he's locked in, he's a machine. And that machine has chewed up slick fighters before. Just ask Billy Joe Saunders, whose speed and style were supposed to trouble Canelo, only to have his orbital bone shattered by a single uppercut. Crawford's fans believe in his brilliance for good reason. He's not just undefeated, he's virtually untouched. He doesn't just win, he dominates. His ability to adapt within rounds, to start slow and build pressure methodically until the finish becomes inevitable, is rare. His record isn't built on weak opposition either. From Jeff Horn to Amir Khan, from Kell Brook to Errol Spence, Crawford has dismantled champions with alarming ease. The question is whether those skills can scale up to a fighter who's not just stronger but harder to wear down. Canelo's camp is confident. And why shouldn't they be? They see Crawford's move as noble but naive. They know what it's like to carry power up the weight divisions. They've seen what happens when lighter fighters step into the deep waters of 168 without fully respecting the sharks that lurk there. They also understand the mind games that accompany a fight of this magnitude. The pressure, the scrutiny, the weight of legacy. And they believe that one clean shot, one mistake by Crawford, could be the beginning of the end. Still, history favors the bold. Manny Pacquiao dared to rise through 8 weight classes, defying physics with speed, work rate, and guts. Roy Jones Jr. made it to heavyweight. Sugar Ray Leonard moved up to face Marvin Hagler. Boxing is filled with stories of men who took the risk, stared down the numbers, and walked into history by doing what others thought impossible. The appeal of this matchup lies in more than just skill versus skill. It's about the philosophical divide between what is and what could be. Canelo represents boxing's hard truths: power, size, and tested technique. Crawford represents its imagination, speed, finesse, and adaptability. The boxing purist might side with Canelo, trusting in size and attrition. The dreamer sees Crawford as a rare mind capable of defying dimensions with style and calculation. There are few guarantees in boxing. A fight can flip on a single punch, a misstep, or a moment of overconfidence. That's why this fight resonates. Because it's not just about who lands more shots or who controls more rounds. It's about who dares to stretch beyond comfort, who imposes their will, and who adapts under the lights when the plan meets resistance. If this bout ever materializes, it won't just be about belts or pound-for-pound rankings. It will be a clash of belief systems. Canelo, the relentless stalker with thunder in his fists and granite in his chin, will look to impose reality. Crawford, the cerebral assassin who sees the sport in angles and rhythms, will look to make magic. Both men bring tools to the table. Both carry the weight of legacy. But only one will be able to shape that night into a defining chapter of their career. And in the end, whether it ends in a sudden stoppage, a razor-close decision, or a masterclass in movement, the fight will be remembered not just for the outcome, but for what it dared to attempt. A challenge to the very boundaries of boxing. A test of courage, brilliance, and belief. And for fans, that's what makes boxing eternal, the pursuit of greatness, no matter how daunting the odds.